How's it going, guys? My name is Ed and welcome back to Scrap Mechanics. And today we are not in the theme park. There are no theme parks hidden around here. There's some other stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. Basically, since the last time we played Scrap Mechanic, there has been an update to the game which has added a couple new little blocks. This one and this one. Basically, this thing here is a logic gate. Those of you who know what a logic gate is, you'll know what that does. Those of you who don't, I'll explain in a second. This is a timer block. Basically, it's like a wire, but it gives a delayed signal. But also, you can just have it as a 0-second delay and use it as a wire. Also, though, the one thing that's cool about the timer blocks is if you connect a signal to a timer block, it lights up. So now, finally, the game has a working, switchable light that you can switch on and off, because the lights in the game before are always on and they don't actually give out any light. So now there is a working light. That's the most exciting thing for me. I don't care about the logic gates. I just wanted lights. Let's actually get rid of these things, and I'm going to clear up my inventory too, just because it looks all messy down there. Oh, there we go. That is much nicer. Okay, so if we come over here, I set up some little demonstration pieces just to show you, for all of you who don't know, how logic gates work. Basically, in the game, there are 6 types of logic gates you can have. You can have an AND gate, an OR gate, an XOR gate, which is an exclusive OR gate, a NAND gate, which is a not AND, a NOR, you know where this is going, and then an XNOR, an exclusive not OR gate. Each of these works on a pretty simple rule based on the inputs it gets from switches and sensors and that kind of thing. It tells you the rules down the bottom here, so AND is all of them active, or is any of them active, all that kind of stuff. I'll show you that in a much cooler way. Also, once you get lots of these things and connect them together, you can make some pretty complex stuff, because logic gates, that's what computers are made of. We're not making a computer today, but we're making some relatively complex stuff. But anyway, here is an AND gate. Basically, 2 inputs, both connected to this thing. When you turn one of them on, nothing happens. You turn both of them on, hey, the AND gate turns on. So yeah, as the name would suggest, it's an AND gate, so it turns on when this and this are turned on. Then we have an OR gate, kind of similar, but it turns on when this or this are turned on. So that turns on, the thing turns on. This turns on, the thing turns on. And if they're both on, it stays on. Then we have the exclusive OR gate, same as an OR gate, except when you turn them both on, it turns off again. So you turn one on, it turns on. You turn the second one on, it turns off. It gets a bit confusing when you add more than 2 inputs to an XOR gate. In real life, there's 2 types of XOR gates. You can have one where it turns on when there's only 1 input, or you can have ones where it turns on when there's an odd number of high inputs. So this one is the second. If you have 3 things turned on, it turns on again. 4, it turns off. 5, it turns on. You see where it's going. By the way, guys, when you're talking about logic circuits, off and on are referred to as high and low. So on is high and low is off. So if I say those things, that's what that means. High means on, basically. A NAND gate. A NAND gate is the exact opposite of an AND gate. So an AND gate only turns on when both of the switches are turned on. A NAND gate only turns off when both of the switches are on. So you can see it's on, now it's off. Again, a NOR gate is the exact opposite of an OR gate. An OR gate turns on when just at least one of the switches is turned on. So this turns off when at least one of them is turned on. So basically, it's only on when everything is off. And then finally, we have the exclusive not OR gate, the XNOR gate or the XNOR gate. I don't know how the hell you want to pronounce that. Basically, in this game, this turns on when it has an even number of high inputs. So at the moment it has 0 high inputs, which is an even number, so it's on. You turn 1 on, it turns off. You turn 2 on, it turns back on. If we connect a third one and turn that on, it turns off again. So yeah, those are the 6 types of logic gates that are in Scrap Mechanic. Weirdly, there's one really important type of logic gate which they didn't add to the game, and that's a NOT gate, or also known as an inverter. Basically, what you want is, if you have a signal and you just put it through a NOT and you just get the opposite of the input signal, you can do that using any of these last 3 with just one input. So here we have a NAND gate. You can see it's got an input which is off, output which is on. Turn that on, input on, output off. These are super important for making logic circuits, so I don't know why they didn't give us a NOT gate, but who knows, you can just make one just like that. So yeah, each of these gates, relatively simple on their own. You can't do too much stuff with just one gate, but once you start to string them together, then you can make some pretty mental things. So there's some standard ways of connecting logic gates together, which are called flip-flops. I've made a couple of them just to show you how they work, but that's loads of different types of flip-flops, like loads. I've only made 2 of the more important ones. This, oh god, I'm standing on it. This here is an SR latch. Basically, the way this works is if I hold this thing, you can see how it's connected. If I turn this on, it will make this output go high. Wait, actually, let's just do it. That makes that go high. But now when I turn this again, it doesn't do anything. So basically, it's like a set and reset switch. This is the set, and this is the reset. So now when I press this one, it resets it back to that. And now this button, completely useless, doesn't do anything. That's probably the most simple type of flip-flop. It's probably one of the most important ones. It's not that useful just using on its own, but when you use it in a big circuit, it's pretty useful. If you do want to use it on its own, you could, for instance, make a door where only one switch opens it and only one switch closes it. That's not as useful as you may think, but I made one nonetheless. Here's a door which has this switch which opens it, nice and slow, you won't want to hurt yourself, and then we head inside, and this switch closes it. There we go. I've got a little SR latch on the roof, and I just realised I now can't get out, because, oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, it turns out an SR latch, very bad way to make a door. Okay, so here we have a slightly more complex flip-flop. This is a D-latch, where this is called a gated D-latch. I'm pretty sure. I'm not some electronics expert, guys. I haven't done much of this at school, but like, I've done a little bit. This is the gated D-latch. Basically, if I hold this, you can see how it's connected. This input goes to there, and the inverse of this input goes to there, and then this is a clock. It's not connected to a clock, it's currently just a button. But the way it works is, when the clock goes on, it sets this to be whatever this is set to. So currently this is off, so if I press this, that doesn't do anything. But now when I turn this on, at the moment, nothing happens. But once I turn the clock on, it sets this to be the same as this. Now when I turn it off, nothing happens until I do this. Hey! Actually, I guess I could make a clock to show you what that means. Basically, a clock, when you're referring to this kind of thing, is not a clock like counting the time. It's just a thing that gives, like, it cycles between high and low every certain amount of time. I can make one which goes 1 second, but in real life it's more like 1/1,000,000th of a second. We can't do them quite that quick in Scrap Mechanic. So the best way to make a clock in this game, you're gonna get 3 timer blocks, because, well, you could do it with 2, except you can't connect 2 to each other, because if I connect this to this, then I do that, it just disconnects it. So you need to have 3 connected in a circle, and then one of them, just put like a delay of however much you want. Let's go with 1 second. But we need to get this thing started. So we flick this on and off. That builds up. As soon as it fires to this one, we want to disconnect this. Oh, and then connect that. And now we have a clock, because that just sends the signal around in a loop. If we connect this to here and also to here, you will see that every 1 second, the clock is firing into these 2 AND gates. Now, on that clock fire, it will set this to be the same as this. So if I switch this, and then it turns on then, and I turn it off, and it turns off when the clock goes. Nice. So, using a D-latch, I have made another door. As you can see, there's a D-latch on the roof, and this one is connected to a 10-second clock. That thing counts up 10 seconds at a time, then it fires around the loop. That's when the thing up there will be set the same to here. That up there is connected to a controller, connected to the door. So if we turn this on, once that gets up to 10 seconds, any second now, there we go. It sets the thing and opens the door. I'm not going to go in there. I've fallen for that once. I'm not going to fall for it again. So yeah, those are just a couple basic type of flip-flops. Some simple standard ways you can connect logic gates together to try and use them to make something a bit more complex. While those are cool, they're not actually very useful for making doors. Let's take a look at some actually useful ways you can use this stuff. I've got one example here. This is a really simple example. Basically, it's a twin car garage, and it's got a sensor on both sides, so once you get both your cars in, it will close the door. Basically, there's just a NAND gate at the back, a not AND gate, so once both of these are active, it will turn this off, and then once that turns off, the door closes. So let's actually get 2 cars. I'm pretty sure on my lift here, because you can now go in the lift and like save designs. Oh, we have a Vader car. That looks horrible. Let's build 2 of these guys. Oh god. Drive them into the garage and see just how the door works. I guess we can reverse them in. Just go. Stop hitting my demonstration logic gate things. There. And as you can see, once you put both cars in, the door starts to close. A lovely sliding garage door. Isn't that wonderful? So that's a pretty simple way you can use the new blocks in the game. Let's look at something slightly more complicated. So guys, the first of our more complicated contraptions is this giant wall of timer blocks. As I said, timer blocks light up when they get a signal. So basically, if you use loads of them like this, you can make a screen. But what is the screen connected to? If we go back here, you can see I've got a lovely conveyor belt type thing. And on top of the conveyor belt, a load of motion sensors. Each one of these sensors is connected up to one thing on the screen. Actually, each one's connected to 2 because these aren't square annoyingly. So to actually make square pixels on the screen, it's using 2 for each of these sensors. Basically, if you pass something along the conveyor belt, the shape of the thing will come up on the screen. It's kind of like an X-ray machine, but it's not actually an X-ray. It's not going through stuff. So basically, you would call this like a machine vision machine. It just shows you the shape of whatever's passing through. Let's actually build something on the conveyor belt so we can actually see if this works. I really hope this works. Let's go just something like that, I guess, but let's make it a slightly more interesting shape just so we can see if it's actually working properly. Let's just do something like that. Actually, this is like a big W. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Let's turn the conveyor belt on. If I could get, what am I stuck on? The hell? Okay, let's turn the conveyor belt on. Having those wheels is not the best way to make a conveyor belt because, I mean, like, the gaps in the wheels so thing can, like, bob up and down, but it's the best way you can do it in Scrap Mechanic. Anyway, let's go around here, see if this is working. I painted all these black, hopefully, they still light up, so as this passes through, we can see the shape of the thing which passes through. Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty damn cool, but actually, this thing doesn't use any logic gates, it's just lights connected to sensors. We could start to do some slightly more fancy stuff with this, to actually use some of the logic to do some cool manufacturing, do some cool machinery type stuff. Let's get rid of this plank thing here. Let's use some of these AND blocks, which are helpfully placed up there. I wonder who put them there. Basically, what we could do, guys, is we can have a system. Say you were sending logs down the conveyor belt and you only wanted logs which were like 2 or 1 blocks wide. You don't want anything bigger than that. You could have a thing at the top which detects when 3 of the sensors next to each other are on. So if something is 3 blocks or wider, then this will turn on and it will trigger this big arm to just swing across and just whack it off the conveyor belt because you don't want it. So that's exactly what we've done. Each like triplet of sensors next to each other is connected up to an AND block. So if 3 of them go, the AND block will turn on. This is connected to an OR block, which is actually not connected, which is now connected, oh my god, to a controller, which is connected to this arm here. So now in theory, if we pass something which is 3 blocks wide down here, it should reject it and kick it off. We should see it actually. Once it gets to the end one, it should like, oh, yep, I think that worked. Let's see. Don't just tap it, just whack it off there. Come on, get to the end again. Come on, 1, 2, 3, whack it off. Jesus, that doesn't work very well at all. Well, anyway, I'm pretty sure that thing's not going to get through anytime soon. That is a conveyor belt with machine vision, auto-reject functionality. It doesn't work, but it sort of maybe could do. It's cool, okay, I made a thing, it's cool. On to the next one. So this one here uses slightly more logic gates from the back. Kind of hard to tell what it is, but if we come around here, ooh, is that a digital display? I tried to make an 8-second clock. It's not the most useful thing in the world, but if you need to count 8 really accurately, I'm your man. This is it. Let's connect these up. Hopefully, it works properly. That's definitely not properly. Okay, I've reset the clock. Hopefully, that should make this work properly. Yes! Okay, that is working. So now I just need to connect up the other 2 at the right time. We want to turn this on now. Good. And then we want to turn this one on. Oh, now. Good. Okay, that should be counting from 0 to 7 in binary. So yeah, 0, it's actually the wrong way around. Look, 0, 1. Wait, which way around am I meant to be? Well, in some direction, it's counting in binary, okay? Basically, these are 3 D latches, but actually they're sort of like self-inverting D latches because the output to here, or like the state of this, is connected to this, but this is on a delay. So this is a 0.9 second delay, so it will do it every 1 second. This is a 1.95, and this is a 3.95. And then, yeah, it's like a self-inverting because the inverter is on the opposite side to where you'd normally do. 3 self-inverting D latches on slightly different times, so they flip at like slightly different intervals, makes a little binary clock. You then connect to this using a set of different rules as to which one's on at each time into this, and you can actually count which analog number would you call that? I don't know, but this thing is obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then you can program all of these things into the different parts of a digital display which are meant to fire for each number. So when you come around here, you get a clock which is counting from 1 to 8. It's not useful in the slightest. It's very basic. It takes a lot of effort, but I did it. I made an 8-second clock. And I just realized I would like to apologize profusely to anyone who has epilepsy who may have seen that thing before. Fuck. So yeah, in theory, you could really easily add like more bits to this binary thing here. So like you added another one, it would count from 0 to 15, or basically 1 to 16. But then you'd have a 16-second clock, which is equally useless as an 8-second clock. So I could do that, but I'm not going to do that. On to the next one. So guys, I've got one more demonstration to show you some of the ways you can use logic gates. This thing, I think, is my favorite. You may notice here, this is kind of like a number pad. Is it perhaps a combination lock? Yes, it is. This is a 4-digit combination lock. If you put in the correct numbers in the right order, these lights will come on. I'll give you a hint. The first number is 2. Press that. Ooh. So yeah, do the correct 4 digits in the right order. These lights come on. You do all 4. Obviously, the door opens and you get a nice happy sound coming out of this guy. However, if you hit the wrong number, oh, that's not good. I told you to sound menacing. What the hell? It's like a choir. That's not menacing the slightest, whatever. If you hit the wrong number, you don't get into my safe. So I bet you guys are wondering, what is my PIN number? Obviously, I didn't set it to my PIN number. I'm not that stupid. I just did 2016 because that is the year right now. So if we go 2, God, no, don't be, why are you doing this? That's not good. 2, 0, not flashing, 1, 6. Ooh, now I bet you guys are wondering, what is inside Vader's bank vault? Well, obviously, guys, it's where I keep my ducks. I don't know where you guys keep your ducks, but I keep them in my duck vault. There's been a lot of ducks in the previous videos, guys. You must have been wondering where they came from. They come from here. So yeah, that's creepy. Earlier, I had made this vault full of lots of, like, loose ducks, which had physics on them. I then touched them and crashed the game, because apparently when you put over 100 ducks in a vault with physics and then touch them, Scrap Mechanic doesn't like that one little bit. Now I spent this entire morning gluing all of my ducks down to the floor. Now they are all safe. So let's just hit a wrong number, turn this thing off. I'll show you how this thing works. If we head back here, that's one hell of a vault. That's a lot of ducks. Yeah, basically, guys, these 4 things here are the 4 things that keep track of the 4 correct numbers. And then we got some decisions here. So basically, this turns on if you press 2, and also this and this and this are off. That's what this decision here is. And then this comes on if you press 0, and this is on, and these 2 are off. You get the picture. Also, there's a reset. So if you hit any of the wrong numbers, or you hit one of the correct numbers but at the wrong time, then that fires all this stuff here, which then goes into the left-hand side of these and resets this, because this is just an SR latch that I showed you earlier. So you hit the correct numbers, it turns that on. That's 2, 0, 1, 6. These are connected to this display here, so you can actually see if you're hitting the correct ones. And then if you hit the wrong one, then it fires a little red guy here. If you get to the right thing back here, fires a little green guy here. This is how it's connected up. I didn't show you this just because, you have no idea what's going on if you look at that. But yeah, that's how you make a combination lock. Take it all in, guys. You might want to take a screenshot, because there's a lot to look at. Yeah, basically SR latches the whole way. Also, these have a slight delay because there's a rule that if you press, if you press 2 while this is already on, then it resets the whole thing. But obviously, as soon as you press 2, this turns on. So there's a delay between this coming on and then this, which is connected to that, so that the reset rule doesn't get done as soon as you press. I'll just put this to 0, you can see what happens. So if I turn that to 0, as soon as I press 2, I both get it correct and then reset it at the same time. So yeah, it doesn't go so good. Oh, this game is really good at making flashing lights. Oh god, look at that guy down there. You okay? Man, he takes his job seriously. You can stop doing that. Oh god, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Oh, thank God. So yeah, that's why delay blocks are useful, because otherwise you get some paradoxes going on in your circuits, and paradoxes, not fun. Oh yeah, and then obviously, guys, if you get all the way to the correct one, this is then just connected to a controller, which is connected to the vault door. That's the simple bit of this. So, those are just a few ways that you guys can use logic gates in Scrap Mechanic. I've already seen, this update came like a week or 2 ago, I've already seen in the Steam Workshop someone has made a calculator which can add and multiply and subtract 4-digit numbers. Someone made Space Invaders. How? So these things today, not quite on that level, but hopefully these will be some good inspiration for any of you guys who wanted to make some. If I think the combination lock is the coolest one, any of you guys who wanted to make a safe out there, do this, because that's cool as balls. Yeah, hopefully some cool inspiration for you guys. Hopefully clear some things up for any of you who didn't know how logic gates worked. But yeah, this has been Scrap Mechanic. Actually, quite a long video. It turns out logic gates quite complicated. Sorry to any of you guys who were wanting more theme park, but actually, as I said at the end of last episode, there is already so much stuff in the theme park. I can't even go back there because it runs so slowly. We can't build anything else in the theme park because it would just crash the game. So I'm not entirely sure if we're going to come back to Scrap Mechanic again. As always, if you guys have any suggestions of things to make, let me know down below. If there's a really, really cool suggestion, we'll probably come back and do it. But this could be the last ever Scrap Mechanic, sadly. We shall see. Only the future will tell. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like to let me know. I'm Vader, and I'll see you guys later.